All right, welcome to today's webinar, Unlocking Health and Introduction to Nutrigenomics. And I thought I'd hold this session today because I've been running nutrigenomic panels on clients this year. I did a little bit last year, but this year it's become a very significant interest to me because of my own health and that of my family. We unfortunately discovered we had mold in our ducted cooling system in our home. And so I do have an webinar coming up on mold. It took us by surprise. So definitely remediating that mold has made a big difference in our health, but also understanding our genetics and what that mold did to a lot of our biochemical pathways has really helped us to upgrade our health. So today, what I'm going to talk you through is just a really simple introduction to what it is, why I think it's the center of personalized nutrition and medicine going forward. And I'm going to share with you some of my clients' testimonials or quotes or experiences with it. I've now run this probably on over 50 clients. And I had a few of them say, yep, I want you to share what they've got out of it. So I'm going to share that with you as well. So as always, the information I share in these webinars does not replace any relationship you have with a qualified health professional and should not be considered health or medical advice. What I'm saying today is very generic. It's very theoretical, where you get a lot of traction and gold, if I can call it gold, is getting a health professional who understands your story and can help join the dots. Doing a nutrigenomic test or a panel like I'm going to share with you today in isolation is not helpful. It is a lot of information. People I see in Facebook groups are running these types of tests and then going into Facebook groups going, hey guys, what do you think about my genes? It's not a good investment if you're going to do it that way. What the best idea is to run the panel and be working with someone like myself who can help you interpret it and develop nutrition, health, lifestyle habits that you will be able to reap the rewards from. So what I'm going to share with you today is, what am I talking about? What is nutrigenomics, how and why it can be powerful for your health, and how to get started. So if you've got any questions as we go, just shout out. I'm a university qualified integrative and functional medicine nutritionist. I'm a registered nutritionist here in Australia, and I'm just about to finish my Masters of Integrative Medicine. I live and breathe study. I spend a lot of time researching gut health, autoimmune disease, skin conditions, mold, and nutrigenomics. You will recognise the backdrop's a little bit different. Today, I'm not in my home office. Today, I am in my paediatric clinic where I work here in Canberra. I work both with adults and children around the world. I'm continuing my education. I'm a member of the Methylation and Genomics Institute, currently doing my mastermind with them, and I've supported hundreds, thousands, I should really say, of people around the world regaining their health. So, nutrigenomics, what is it? It's a study of how food interacts with our genes. And it is a very new area of science. So it's only 30 odd years old. And it came about after a really big project that was run in Canada called the Human Genome Project, where they mapped the human DNA sequencing. And as a result of that, a lot of study has come out of it saying, right, what we put in our mouth and also our environment, how does that impact our genes and our DNA? The other term that you may have heard is epigenetics. And epigenetics are modifications that can turn our genes on and off and impact how our cells function. And there's a lot that impact our health and how our cells act. And as I said, cells can turn, not cells, genes and enzymes can turn on and off, but they can also go faster or go slower. And things like diet. So, it's right at the top of this image here. Fast food, processed food, sugary food, fatty foods, particularly saturated fats, can have very significant modulation on your genes. We know the rainbow of colors, the bright fruits and vegetables have a completely different epigenetic modulation, a really positive one on genes. Being exposed to toxins, and I put in that bracket things like heavy metals, glyphosate, Roundup, pesticides, smoking, alcohol, drugs, all of those things impact your genetics. Heavy metals, I can't remember if I said that, but a lot of these things we are, for instance, heavy metals, they're in our environment. There's lots of lead in our environment, we've got pollution, we're eating foods, for instance, with rice that's grown in soil well, not soil, but grown in the environment where there's arsenic. So a lot of our children and ourselves are exposed to a lot of things that are impacting us at an epigenetic level. We also know the gut microbiome plays a very significant role in our epigenetic health. Drugs, both, recreational drugs and pharmaceutical drugs, also supplements. I see people often who have a massive shopping list of supplements they're taking, not realizing that they're counteracting each other. And some are down-regulating some genes or enzymes, and others are upregulating, and they're not really clear on what the strategy and the goal is. Is because, they've heard someone say, I should take this, or they've had a health professional that doesn't understand genetics say, you should take a bunch of these things. Definitely also what we think and our social interactions impacts how our genes express. Loneliness is a really, really significant known factor that has an impact on our epigenetic modulation. So I just put this here to give you a bit of an idea that it's not just when I speak with people, and that's why I'm integrative, it's not just about food, it's about way more than that around what's going on for you. And I think, when we take a step back, why is genetics something that I'm so interested in? And it's because it is the instruction for how our body functions. So I'm very heavily invested in autoimmune conditions, particularly in children. I'm always fascinated as to why children develop these conditions, adults as well. But as you know, my story started with children. So what's going on? What's going on that leads the body down a path to turn genes on and off, to speed up, to slow down activity? And I think, the more I've delved into it, the more that I've learned that it is absolutely critical for people to understand this, especially when they've got poor health. If you've been struggling with symptoms, if you've been struggling with chronic disease and you're not getting answers, then it's time to turn your eye to this to see how it can help. And I think the thing is, it differs from traditional nutrition because it's not a one-size-fits-all. Traditional dietary guidelines are generalized. Even in the field of autoimmune, there are lots of different protocols and philosophies. Some people say go paleo, others say carnivore, others say plant-based, others say autoimmune protocol. It's very confusing. And look, my thoughts are that autoimmune protocols great because it's an elimination type diet. But what doing something like that with this is, it gives you more specificity around, okay, well, what does my body need? Where are there some gaps? Where do I need to help speed things up? Where do I need to slow things down? Really helps you to customize not only your dietary recommendations, but also things to do as far as lifestyle measures as well. And everyone is really different. And I hear this all the time where people go, oh my gosh, what's my report like? Is it bad compared to others? And I think the thing is, we all have genetic variants. We all do. They're just different. So how mine show up are going to be very different to how yours show up. Because for most of these genes, I got one copy from my mum and I got one copy from my dad. So depending on what their profile was, will impact what, is happening for me. And that then will impact how I respond to nutrients, how I respond to vitamins, how I respond to environmental toxins, how I clear heavy metals, how I clear mold, how I deal with stress. And one of the really big ones that I see a lot is how we make our neurotransmitters, because we make majority of them in the gut. And it's really fascinating when we start to look at people's genetic tests, particularly people who have had long-term anxiety and depression. We can see some things are running too fast and some things are potentially running too slow. And I want to use this as an example. So MTHFR is, probably the most popular gene that I hear people ask, do I have it, or I do have it, or what do I do about it? And I think, it really is just one gene in a very complex pathway called methylation. And methylation is one pathway in our biochemistry. I always start with methylation, but I don't just look at MTHFR. I look at a methionine synthase reductase. I'm looking at your transcobalamin to see, can you take B12 into your cell? I'm looking at the whole process stepping back. But I'm going to use MTHFR as the example because it's the most popular. So folate, also known as vitamin B9, is found in green leafy vegetables, and it plays a very, very significant role in DNA synthesis and repair. And I call this whole folate thing the folate factory. So if you can produce and eat a good amount of folate and you don't have a significant genetic variation with MTHFR, and then you can take it out of the factory into the warehouse, then what we know is you can support your methylation more easily, potentially, than the next person. If you've got a genetic variant, you may have a reduction of somewhere between 30 and 70% of getting that folate into your warehouse. For myself, I have a 70% reduction. So what does that mean? It means I could eat a hell of a lot of green leafy, which I do. I only take in 30% into my warehouse. So that is a challenge. That's a really big challenge. So by knowing that, along with the other genetic variants, I've been able to optimize my methylation. And it's not been particularly straightforward. My genetic variants are very interesting, which I think for your benefit makes me very invested in understanding this really critical pathway. And, I think the thing is, I'm reaping the health benefits. I have been bedridden 3 times in my life. Not a good place to be. The doctor said to me, oh, you're depressed. Yes, of course. I couldn't get out of bed. I was exhausted and I didn't know what was going on. I suspect I had a significant issue with my methylation and really that DNA synthesis and repair. Now I look back on it. I wasn't a health professional back then, but now I look back on it, it's pretty clear to me. And I haven't gone back to that poor health since. So whilst I say, MTHFR is not, all of the only thing I look at. It is a very important aspect to methylation that I do look at. But what I want to express to you is it is way more than that. What I want to share with you here is something that Shelley shared with me. So she said genetic testing has helped me understand what foods are good for me and why some foods make me feel yuck. It's also enlightened me as to why I get emotionally down sometimes and helped me relieve those not so nice feelings with suggestions of things to try instead. She still hasn't read through it all as it's incredibly detailed with so much information, but it's my DNA and I can take all the time I need as I've got that information through my life. And she's shared with me just yesterday that she's just so thrilled to have this scientific information to help me lead a healthy, energetic, stable life. So when I met Shelley, she said she just thought being depressed was normal. She was late 40s from memory, and had just said, look, I just think this is me. This is it. So we ran this. We ran the organic acid test, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. Doing an organic acid test alongside this can give you a lot of extra information to say, right, what's going on with my biochemistry right now? And what we learned from there is where there were blocks with regards to methylation, but also some of the other processes like the catecholamines and the COMT and the um, detoxification and neurotransmitters. So, absolutely powerful, life-changing information that we were able to develop a plan really quick and get incredible results. Like within, I would say, 3 or 5 days, I got a text message going, wow, I feel like a new woman. So that was really amazing. She was one of my first clients, actually, that I did this test on. Why it can be powerful for your health. So personalized. So it's going to provide you with that foundation of a truly personalized nutrition and lifestyle approach that you can tailor to each of you. It's preventative. So by knowing your genetic predispositions, you can make informed decisions to optimize your health, prevent or delay the onset of certain conditions. So what I do need to share with you is the test I run is not medical genetics. It's not going to have the BRCA genes for breast cancer and things like that. What Nutrigenomics is all about is, does this give us clues as to how to keep you really healthy? So if you do have a chronic disease, if you do have autoimmune, what it can do is give us clues. Are there some inflammatory genetics that you've got on board? Are you having issues detoxifying? How we can use that to really tap in and refine your protocol can be absolutely life-changing. If you have, oh, this is what I've just said, chronic or unresolved symptoms, this can absolutely help lead to more effective strategies. And I've got a little boy I'm working with at the moment who's 4. I've been helping him since he was 2. He became really well. Again, he was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition and he became really well, got into remission, and then had a flare. Um, I'd say maybe a year ago or so. I can't really remember, maybe 6 months. And the parents said, right, what's next? What can we do now to keep him really well and upgrade him? And I said, look, I'm studying this, I'm doing this, I'm trialing this genetic on lots of people. And they said, let's give it a go. And the information that has come back for that child is life-changing. So yeah, we do it on all ages, all ages and stages of life. Um, and like I said, some people have genetic variants that impact how they metabolize nutrients, such as B vitamins, vitamin A, vitamin C, iron, lots of different things. It will show up if you've got the celiac genes. It will show up if you have lactose intolerance genes. It will tell us, are there challenges digesting food, detoxifying, how you make energy, how you make neurotransmitters, and much, much more. So it gives you a lot of information so you can really hone in and optimize. And what it really does, and this has been the case for us, is it's shifted us from this really reactive process if you're dealing with chronic health, you know what I'm talking about, where you feel like you're treading in thick treacle. It can be overwhelming and suffocating and not sure, really what the next step is to take. It really has helped us to make informed decisions, stick to a plan, and then absolutely see life-changing results. So this is a fabulous quote from Louise, who is a health professional herself. I work with a lot of health professionals. I'm very honoured and blessed that they trust me to be their provider. And she said integrating genetic testing into her health regime has been nothing short of transformative. The insights she's gained have profoundly refined her healthcare strategy, leading to significant improvements in her overall health and well-being. And I must say, Louise is very healthy to begin with. So she's just done more upgrades and more optimizing of her health. One of the most compelling aspects of genetic testing is its ability to deliver the highly personalised health profile. By analysing my unique genetic makeup, I've received detailed information about my predispositions to various conditions, enabling all her people to tailor preventative measures with greater precision. Understanding her risk for certain conditions has led her to do some proactive screening and focus on specific areas of her health that are most pertinent to her genetic profile. So that is absolutely fantastic. This has empowered her to take back control of her health, early intervention, which has been definitely invaluable before, potential things could escalate. She's saying the positive impact of genetic testing on her health has been profound. The precision personalisation it offers has revolutionised my health management, being a cornerstone of her health and wellness journey. And for anyone contemplating it, wholeheartedly recommends it to unlock that new level of understanding and control over your health, so you can be informed, proactive, and empowered. So she's very passionate about how good it is and how powerful it has been. So the one thing that I would say to you is you may already have done some genetic testing. So if you've done the 23andMe or Ancestry, I can always look at that and interpret that. But if you're looking at running a new genetic test, what I say to people is always read the terms and conditions. It's often at the bottom of their website. You click on it, read it, get really clear on how your data is stored and how it's shared. Some places do sell data, they share data. You want to be really clear on what's happening for your data and ask questions and feel comfortable before you send any samples away. And I would actually say get comfortable before you even order the test. The one that I use is called Smart DNA, the Advanced Pathways Test, and I'm just going to take you through. So if you have any questions, just drop me a note with any questions, or you can unmute yourself. This is what it looks like. So when you get it, it's a very, very comprehensive report. I should step back a bit. So it is a mouth swab. So what you do is you order the test. It's a mouth swab. You can't eat or drink before it. Then you send your sample away, and it does take about 6 weeks to get your results back. And then when you get your results, they come to me, and then I go through them with you. So this is an example one. And what you'll see is this legend at the front. So green means no action. Orange means we need to look at it at some point. Red means we really do need to get a look at it. What we see is when you've got the plus plus or the minus plus or the minus minus, it basically is saying, have you had that risk allele inherited from your parents? So if you're plus plus, it means you got one from mum and you got one from dad. If you're plus minus, you got one from someone. And if you're minus minus, you didn't get any. And then what we're looking to see is, does it speed up or slow down, or we're not sure about the impact that it has on transport or plasma levels or enzyme activity or whatever that gene does. It may be transcription, it may be something else. So I'm not going to go through all of this, but just showing you it's a lot of information. So 100 pages of it. So the devil's in the detail. The thing is, you want to be working with someone who understands it, who can step back, who can say, look, what's your current symptoms? What's your family history? And what does all this tell us about you? The MTHF1 one I spoke about before, you know, for examples here. And having even one risk allele from one parent puts you at risk of cardiovascular disease. I have two. I've got one from each parent. You can see here the inflammatory aspect is very helpful. So if you've got long COVID, if you've got cardiovascular disease, if you've got chronic disease, if you've got autoimmune, this particular area I really look at. Lactose, if you've got issues, celiac disease, this section here tells me a bit about the gut. You know, your vitamins, are you having issues with certain vitamin transport? The one I talk about a lot is this transcobalamin 2, this TCN2 here. Then it goes into all the detoxification. If you've got issues with your period, if you've got issues with menopause, you know, all of this can be really super important. And then we get to methylation. So this is usually the first place I start, depending on what your symptoms are and what's going on. But we've got to get methylation humming and optimized so everything else can flow on. So as you can see, I was at a health practitioner event last week, and we were all networking and socializing here in Canberra. And it's kind of like, you know, oh, you know, I'm Vanessa. Who are you? What do you do? And, you know, nutrition's pretty boring, right? With other health practitioners, they're like, I know how to eat. And I said, yeah, I specialize in nutrigenomics. And there was not one person there who went, yeah, me too. They all went, oh, that's really complicated. That's good to know you do it because I can send everyone to you. And it is complicated. I'm not going to lie, it is. But the more that, you know, I've had to be heavily invested to understand it for myself. And the more you do it and the more you understand the big picture, it's actually not complicated at all to me. Like, it makes sense, and powerful, powerful stuff. So I thought I'd share that. That was really funny. Neurotransmitters, really helpful. So if you've got issues with, you know, especially children with ADHD and autism, I'm always looking at this section. Also anxiety and depression. You know, I'm trying to see, can you make serotonin and then can you get it into the brain? This person has a really hard problem of getting serotonin into the brain, and they're having troubles making it. So, you know, what we can do is then say, okay, well, what's going on? What's potentially slowing that down? How do we speed that up? Or slow it down if we have to. So it goes on and on and on and on and on. Any questions? Just shout out or drop them in the message if you want. So it's awesome, basically. That's what I love it. What I pair it with often is the organic acid urine test. So Designs for Health would do one, so does RN Labs. What it does is it tells us what's going on with your biochemistry. So if there's certain blocks, then what we can do is we can use this with the genetic map to say, right, how do we basically create you a personalized plan for now, given you've got certain genes and there are certain things that are going on. And look, I often see people's first organic acid looking like this, lots of red. And then we work on things and 6 months later, lots of green. So it really does show that, you know, what's coming out in the urine which is a byproduct, it's actually working. What we're doing is actually helping and working. This one's from Deb. This test provided an enormous amount of information, which I was able to guide her through. And I think that's the thing, like getting an enormous amount of information sounds good in theory, but you got to have someone to guide you through. Otherwise, it's just you get lost in the weeds and it's a waste of time. You can't just go through that report and make a list of 1,000 supplements to take because it's not going to be that personalised approach, which is really what we're trying to get out of doing this. And Deb said for herself, she has made some dietary and lifestyle changes which have yielded positive results. And again, I would say all of my clients are usually very healthy, and Deb was exceptionally healthy. She wanted to make those tweaks to further optimise and upgrade her health, which she's been able to do. So to cut through the complexity, to develop the personalised plan, what I do is hone in on your symptoms, if you've got any conditions, and also family history. And then what we do is basically from there work through what the appropriate testing is for you. So the best thing is to book an initial appointment, complete the intake forms as best as you can. If it's too much, if you've got too much brain fog, just do what you can, and I can fill in the rest when we meet. If you've done any blood work, stool samples, any other genetic testing, any other testing whatsoever, provide it to me before that first consultation. And then what I'll do is deep dive into your health and family history, and I'll start to join dots in my head and try and be working out what some of the root causes could be for, either you or your child's health symptoms and conditions. And then we'll order the tests. So I'll either work with you to say, yes, let's just do the advanced pathways, or we might do it with the organic acid. It depends on who else you're seeing. So some of my clients are seeing kinesiologists, and kinesiologists can sometimes assess certain things in the body. And sometimes we'll use them instead of the Omnex test. It'll just depend. And then we'll get started. So we'll make some recommendations, get you going while we wait for the test results to come back. So based on your health and your family history, we'll identify the best areas to focus on. It'll probably start with assimilation and methylation. So that's basically how do you digest your food? I'll be looking for that lactose one, the celiac one, some gut markers, and also looking to help you optimize your methylation. Usually that's the first appointment. If there's other really big things that are coming up, I'll vary, but I'd say 90% of the cases so far, that's been that. The second appointment, again, it could depend on what's going on for you, but usually the focus goes like this: neurotransmitters and memory, detoxification, and then immune and inflammatory conditions. And then I should put there fifth, any remaining ones that are red, any remaining red genes we would then focus on. So it's going to be different for everyone. The priority, like I said, it just depends on what's going on for you. And then at each appointment, you get nutrition advice, recipes, lifestyle suggestions, any supplements if you need them, nutraceuticals. I use very high quality practitioner only products that are most often made in Australia with very limited excipients and crap in them. And any further advice on testing, like you heard from Louise and you heard from Deb, what are some other things that I can do to really make sure that I'm keeping myself really well? And you'll have your questions answered. So that's it for today. It's a short webinar, only 40 minutes. We've been efficient. Do you have any questions before we close out today? To get started, you just jump on the website, book an appointment. and we can get going. No questions? What's your reflections?
Vanessa, I'm just wondering how the ancestry genetic testing, um, how you can apply that to this type of work.
So what you got to do is you got to go into ancestry.com, and there is a button to extract your data, and it'll come out in an Excel spreadsheet, which if you open it, you won't be able to understand. And then what you've got to do is then upload it to another external website. So I can send you all the details of this, Jennifer, if you want. And then it's usually, I think when I did it, it was like $50 or something. And then they give you kind of like the one I showed you, but a table of just a lot of genes. If you do have the ancestry, it might be worth doing as well as what you've already done if you already have it, because sometimes it tells us about transcobalamin 1, which is can you get enough B12 out of your food? Um, and a few other genes, which I go, well, that's really interesting, because if you've got an issue with transcobalamin 1 and transcobalamin 2, you've got big problems with B12. So not necessarily vital, but if you got it there, we could give it a go, Jennifer.
Yeah, I do. I have done that before, so yeah, I'll have a look into that.
Yeah. Do you want me to look it up how you do it, and I'll send you instructions?
Yeah, thanks. That'd be great.
Because it might have changed. All right. Any other comments or reflections or questions? I'm just going to put a note here. All right. No dramas. So that's it for today. Nice and efficient. If you want to get going, just jump on the website. And if you're unsure, book a discovery call. That's probably a really safe place to start. No commitment, where you can just have a chat with me, ask me your questions. And then if you decide you want to progress, then you can make an appointment from there. So thank you for today. I hope my energy and enthusiasm and love for this has come across, because, yeah, truly it has been absolutely life-changing for me and my family. And I really am seeing it every week with clients. So if you're struggling, reach out, and I hope that it can help you as well. See you later. Bye.
Thanks, Vanessa. See you.
Bye.